So 2015, the World Series. Let's hear it. Let's hear your perspective.
Yeah.
I want to hear your perspective.
You stole the Mets. You stole the Mets. I mean, I actually looked it up, and I was actually shocked at your batting average. But it felt like you hit like 900.
So it was like, I literally was like 1 for 25 with nobody on base, and then I was like hitting 300 with runners on base. But yeah, I was hitting.
What did you have, 6 RBIs? I know you had the.
Yes, I was hitting like $190.
The walk-off game one.
In the playoffs, World Series.
The walk-off game one, then the ball that Daniel Murphy booted.
Yeah.
And then, of course, tied the game with the run home with Lucas Duda. Lucas Duda throwing a baseball. The only position he could play is first base or DH. Because Lucas Duda is throwing a baseball. I mean, if he's ever playing catch with his kid in the backyard, I think he's going to break every window in his house.
Duda had some good years out there for the Mets.
I grew up in a family of Yankee fans. And
really?
It just so happened that I went to a few games in 1985 and saw Dwight Gooden pitch. So Dwight Gooden got me hooked.
And Dwight Gooden, you went on that Frank's Walks with him, which we'll talk about also. But so right when you saw him pitch.
Yeah, it was Dwight Gooden. Dwight Gooden, I had the top sticker book came out that year. Dwight Gooden was on the cover. Dwight Gooden was everywhere. When I came to New York, he was on the side of the building. And then, of course, next year, 86, they win it all. And little did I know, that was it.
Yeah, you're hooked. I've seen you get emotional talking about that team when there was a song that came on and you got emotional because it reminded you of that team.
Yeah, it was the song that they played during the montage on NBC after Game 7.
So that brought back some good memories for you. So you're the outcast of the family. So there wasn't nobody else. You're solo with the Mets. Everyone else is Yankee fans. You're seeing all this success from the Yankees over here. We don't have to go through all that. Let's talk about Frank's success. We're not going to relive that. So Barstool comes along. You go viral, leaving a game, I believe, and was it the news? Someone asked you about the game?
I was actually trying to get to opening day in 2017.
Okay.
Noah Syndergaard was pitching, and I left at a good time because I like to get to opening day, get there when the gates open, grab my yearbook, just sit down, get ready for the start, the first pitch, the ceremonies. I'm on a train that just stops in the tunnel and stood in the tunnel for 45 minutes. And there's in New Jersey Transit, when it goes down the tunnel, there's no cell service at all. It's like you're cut off from the world, and all you heard periodically was like the announcement. And every time there was an announcement, there was this audible like and like feedback, and you never heard what they were saying. And all of a sudden, after 45 minutes, the train, instead of going forward, went back to the station I came from. I walked into just chaos because all the trains are being just stopped at Secaucus, and I saw a camera crew, and I said, 40 years of just being frustrated with New Jersey Transit just came to the surface.
Just came out.
And in 7 years in New Jersey Transit still is pretty bad. I mean, it's like, this has been the summer delays. They had the trains shut down because of overheating in 80-degree weather. And last week there was a train that got stuck in the tunnel for 3 hours.
That's crazy.
And then there was a train that actually caught on fire. I mean,
they're going great.
Yeah, things are going great.
The New Jersey Transits are the newest fleet of New Jersey Transit are these double-decker trains that started being rolled out like 1999. Most of the fleet are trains from the 80s. There's even just one train that has a sign refurbished in 1992. These trains are like 40 years old and older, and they just keep running them out. And by the way, you sit on these trains, the seats are filthy. There is grime, and it looks like there has never been one sponge or any cleaning equipment taken to these trains.
Frank, let me tell you something. I've seen some clubhouses like that. There's been some clubhouses
especially in minor league baseball.
In A-ball, minor leagues, where there hasn't been a vacuum run over the carpet in 45 years, and there is cheese balls for the spread. So I can feel that.
Oakland Colesium?
Wow.
Oh, man. Have you
I just
seen
saw
the
some
other
photos of
picture?
that too the other
Come
day.
on, what's going on there?
That's a subject that we need to bring up right now. What are you doing if you're in that organization and you get a phone call from your manager and they say, hey, you're getting called up and we're playing against Minnesota in the Colesium tomorrow? Are you feeling happy about that?
No, you're looking immediately where's the next
road trip, right?
Yeah,
you're looking
that's
for road
exactly
trips
what
the
you're
whole
looking at.
time. It's not the big leagues.
There was one time we were there, I think I was with San Diego, and the visiting locker room and the umpires, the auxiliary locker room, the showers broke. So they had to go find a random shower, I think like on the basketball side where the Warriors play, and it's the visiting team, the umpires, everyone's showering together. So it's time for them to move on. It's time for them to get out.
It's a sad situation what's happening in Oakland.
And that's a big fan base out there, huge fan base.
It basically is a stadium that deteriorated, a city that went broke, and the Giants just conning the Athletics 30 years ago.
Yeah,
Yes, you know what a lot of people don't realize is
What's the story behind that?
about 35 years ago, the Giants asked the Athletics for permission to put a minor league team in San Jose.
Really?
The A's basically said, okay, yeah, you can have San Jose. The Giants then claimed San Jose as their territory. And about 20 years ago, the A's were looking at maybe moving to San Jose. And basically it's a no-go because the Giants claimed territorial rights over San Jose. Now, I understand they don't want to bring in a third major league team to San Jose, but the Athletics should be allowed to move to San Jose. You keep them in the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they won't be Oakland anymore, but you keep them in the Bay. You keep it's the same fan base.
Yeah.
The entire Bay fan base is
It's
there.
a huge market too, yeah.
And San Jose's got all that computer money, all all those chips processors are all made out in San Jose, Silicon Valley. They could have saved that franchise. They could have saved them. They could have saved a Bay Area team, and then of course we know the situation with the owner. The city loses the Raiders. They don't even put any money in that stadium. So you have a crumbling stadium, a fan base that's just been put through the ringer. Any player that gets valuable, they have to trade because they can't afford it. Now they're being driven to Vegas with Rob Manfred basically driving the bus because he's not help matters. Major League Baseball wants the Athletics in Vegas. They're going to Vegas. He waived a relocation fee, even though Vegas doesn't look like they really want an expansion team, but Major League Baseball wants the A's in Vegas so they can clear up and get two new markets and then get the $1 billion from those two new markets.
Let me ask you this now. So having this conversation and you having so much knowledge and passion for baseball, if you were having this conversation with some buddies or some family members back home, that's a normal conversation and that's what it is. But now, life after Barstool, which I really want to kind of talk about, you have this conversation and you say this, there's millions of people out there that are following what you're saying. So how crazy has that change been?
Oh, that's been crazy. Because I actually went for broadcasting in college, but I just couldn't find a good job. So I ended up being a court clerk for 16 years. And then when I got discovered, it led the path to Barstool.
Yeah.
At what point did you feel like, wow, people are listening to my opinion, they're listening to what I have to say, and when did you start to become this person who a lot of people wanted to hear your opinion of?
When I started getting to Met games and people come up to me asking to take pictures, that really is like when it started dawning on me.
And I bet you've had these steps where stuff's happened, and I know, like we said, Frank's Walks, and a bunch of athletes have reached out, showing support, how cool that was and how far you've came on that. But I mean, you mentioned Doc Gooden, and I watched one recently where you got to go on one of the Frank's Walks with him and just pick his brain and dive in there. How cool was that?
That was great. That was a great one.
What'd you get to ask him? What'd you get to talk about?
Basically his career and being happy that the Mets finally retired his number.
Yeah, that's a big deal too. You really do keep up with like the tradition of the team and, you know, the stadium, Shea Stadium versus Citi Field. What's your take on that? How do you enjoy the new experience?
That's a great question. I got to play in both. That's a great question.
Well,
the atmosphere is different.
Well, Shea Stadium was built in 1964 at a different time. Back then, the idea was to build multi-purpose, colorless, boring, cookie-cutter stadiums. Some stadiums had the full cookie cutter. Some stadiums had like the half cookie cutter. Shea Stadium was kind of a half cookie cutter. You ever see Veterans Stadium, Three Rivers Stadium, and Riverfront Stadium are the same ballpark with just a few ornamental differences. One just was in Pittsburgh, one was in Cincy, and the other one's in Philadelphia. They were literally the same ballpark. I mean, it was just like ball, and they all opened up like within a year of each other. And they were the boringest, like concrete domes, like concrete, just like colorless, personal, no artificial turf, ugly, just.
He's going in.
Stadiums you could ever imagine.
So you enjoyed them?
Yeah.
How, as former players, like when you had fans who lived and died on your wins and your losses, and when you saw them and they gave you a piece of their mind on how the roster should be constructed, what you should do with your swing, they have opinion. What effect does it have for you as players?
I think you understand it. You understand it. You understand what markets you're going in. You understand what fan bases you're playing for. I think at the end of the day, if you tell me I stink or I suck, that's fine. I think once, there's a line, if you cross a line and start talking about guys' family members, guys' wives, guys' kids, that's crossing the line. But if you're out there yelling at me, calling me a bum, I mean, you paid a ticket. You paid a ticket to say that. But there is that fine line, which you cross that line sometimes. Not with family, not with kids, nothing like that.
The worst thing I ever did family-wise was and this was actually a minor league game. I had just went there just to heckle the guy. It's somebody whose father is a legend, but not in the Hall of Fame because of, let's say, extracurricular reasons. Okay. And he had a son who was 38 years old playing independent minor league baseball.
I feel like I know who you're talking about.
And it was basically like, so what? You think you can make it back to the majors? I wouldn't bet on it.
So you went to that game just to heckle him?
Yes.
Minor league heckling is a different level of heckling, different level.
And my favorite line is, hey, what happened? Did Dad bet on your college fund?
Oh, man. All right, now I'm going to heckle you. All right. So 2015, the World Series. Let's hear it. Let's hear your perspective.
Yeah.
I want to hear your perspective.
You stole the Mets. You stole the Mets. I mean, I actually looked it up, and I was actually shocked at your batting average. But because it felt like you hit like 900.
So it was like, I literally was like 1 for 25 with nobody on base, and then I was like hitting 300 with runners on base. But I was hitting.
What did you have? 6 RBIs? I know you had the.
Yes, I was hitting like $190.
The walk-off game one
in the playoffs, World Series.
The walk-off game one. Then the ball that Daniel Murphy booted.
Yeah.
And then of course tied the game with the run home with Lucas Duda. Lucas Duda throwing a baseball. The only position he could play is first base or DH. Because Lucas Duda is throwing a baseball. I mean, if he's ever playing catch with his kid in the backyard, I think he's going to break every window in his house.
Dude had some good years out there for the Mets. Well,
he was a slugger, but he was an absolute just.
But that's what the game is that now. The game just wants people to slug. And I know you're passionate about this too.
Hate that.
Because they don't value defense. They don't value certain things. They don't value a leadoff hitter getting on base or getting a guy over. I know that stuff you're passionate with.
You know who one of my all-time favorite players is?
Who's that?
Keith Hernandez.
Oh, man. I love listening to him.
Greatest defensive first baseman ever. You have every other position, catcher, second, short, third, all 3 outfield positions, and pitcher. The person who has won the most Gold Gloves at every single position is in the Hall of Fame. The only position that they don't put the guy in the Hall of Fame for is Keith Hernandez, who won the most career Gold Gloves at first base.
Keith Hernandez is definitely a Hall of Fame
player. And basically his last 2.5 years, he dealt with hamstring injuries, and he ended up with like a 297 career batting average. And his last year in Cleveland was like really bad. I think he was hit under 200.
But he was probably just hurt.
And he was like before he his career tailed off at the end last few years, he was like a 302, 303 lifetime hitter.
Yeah. I'm sure he was injured those last couple of years trying to play through something.
In clutch, he had 24 game-winning RBIs one year, which was set the record at the time.
And he was the leader in the clubhouse. You can tell he was the guy that brought everybody together. But you didn't tell me. They're in the slide. Where were you? Were you watching the game at home? What was your reaction? What was
I was watching at home. It was torturous. First off, game 1 should have never been tied because you must have had a good scouting report. Because all that season, Familia would do that trick.
The quick
The guy
pitch.
would come up and do the quick pitch.
Yeah, Gordo
got it.
You were sitting right. You were sitting right on it. He was almost like your scouts must have said, if this guy's in there, go to the plate ready to hit because he's going to throw that.
Did you have a tell? Was it every time he went quick pitch, it was a fastball?
I don't know if we did or not on Familia, but the thing is, if you do it one time during your career, they'll have that on you and they'll bring it up. And so basically, Familia comes set or quick pitches Gordo, Alex Gordon, and he looks up and Gordon sees it happening and he's like, oh, and Gordon says it caused him to be so short to the ball. And like you said, Familia's sinker, I mean, it was a bowling ball sinker. So it flattened it out just a little bit more. So it was like the perfect combination for Gordo to hit it out of the park. And
he did that several times. In fact, almost had a fight against the Phillies. The Phillies like were about to like charge him out against him.
No kidding.
And he did that like 4 or 5 times. He did it like twice against the Cubs.
Yeah.
Did it against the Dodgers, and he did that all year.
Yeah,
he was one of the first ones to do it, and now it's almost it's accepted now because we're just trying to break up the timing. I understand.
A lot more people are doing it now, but you're right. When pitchers first started doing it, like teams would get mad. They'd be like, "Oh, you're quick pitching? Like, what are you doing?" So they would start chirping, and I can see you guys getting real upset about it.
And there was like the Phillies were like chirping him, and it was almost like when they get off the field, both sides like talk, have a little discussion, and they go back to the dugout.
Yeah.
I remember there was an incident like that year, and Familia did it all year, and Gordon just like waited for it, and of course, it was like PTSD because it just was like the same thing in 2000 happened. The Mets had a 1-run lead, 9th inning against the Yankees. Paul O'Neill had a 14-pitch at bat. Yankees end up tying game 1, winning in extra innings, and then the Royals win game 1 extra innings. Game 2, the Mets just were flat. Game 3, of course, the Mets win, and then game 4, they have a chance to win. And then the one thing, Daniel Murphy's kryptonite. I mean, he had one of the all-time greatest postseasons ever that year.
A lot of homers.
But the thing he did that Daniel Murphy was he did not have a glove. And he would get rushed and make a bad throw here or there, a bad ball bounce off his glove, and 3-run score, and that's all you know. And then game 5, Matt Harvey trying to get the complete game, trying to let the crowd influence it, and then you snuck home, and it was only a matter of time before the Mets lost that game. It was a 5-game series that the Mets could have won all 3 games.
They were all very close. All those games were very, very close.
All 3, and you played a role in each one. I know.
How far you've come as a person. We can sit here and have a
I know Salvador
conversation.
Perez got the MVP, but I think that you could have just as easily been the MVP.
You heard it, baby. Frank the Tank. Salvi got it. Salvi got that car. What do you think about Salvi? I think he's such an underrated player. The fact that he's had this amount of years as a catcher and his career up into this point, what do you think?
Very good catcher. What's interesting is if like Jorge Posada would have snuck into Hall of Fame, he would have gotten a good chance because I think Salvador Perez is a better player than Jorge Posada ever was.
Yeah, when you look at numbers.
I've seen players like him before. I mean, he could get some Hall of Fame consideration. Good defensive player, good leader, but I just don't know if he'll get the final the 75%. But I think he'll get some good consideration.
You think playing in Kansas City might hurt him a little bit? I think he's got it, but I might be biased because he's my teammate and he's my guy. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I think he's got an excellent chance to be in the Hall of Fame. You know, he's kind of like maybe like someone like a Ted Simmons who it took him forever to get in.
Yeah,
it's a good comp.
Frank, you've been watching baseball for decades. Long time. There's been a lot of changes to the game since you started watching. I can never see that. What are some of those changes that you cannot stand?
Oh boy.
I hate the ghost runner.
Oh, the extra
I
innings.
hate the ghost runner. I like the pitch clock because only it speeds up the game, but I just remember a time when you didn't need a pitch clock because the game was fast.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, you stayed in the batter's box. There was no stepping out. I mean, Derek Jeter, he was like the king of it. I mean, just stepping out and adjusting his batting gloves. I mean,
not that he's a Yankee.
What?
Not that he's a Yankee. He was the king because there was a few before. You remember Nomar?
No more two. No more two.
That was.
There was a guy, you know him as a manager, but when he was a player,
Donnie.
Mike Hargrove.
Oh.
Damn, what a name.
Mike Hargrove. They used to call him the human rain delay.
Really?
Because he would do what? This is in the 70s. He was playing, and he would do all the machinations that would come later. And his nickname for whenever he was like a batter, they called him the human rain delay because of how long it took him to get ready to take a bat.
So where do you get all this baseball knowledge from? Where do you and you? I'm pretty sure you also had did you have a card come out, a baseball card come out about you recently?
Yeah, Leafs put out some products.
That thing sold for a lot of money, didn't it? How much that thing sell for, Frank?
I'm not sure, but
how much that thing sell for, Frank?
Well, that was a parody website that said that there's a price there.
So is that real or what's the deal? Okay,
no.
Okay. Either way, Frank's value's through the roof.
That was New York Porch.
Okay, I got it.
New York Porch is
you don't know what's real or not.
Is a parody
that thing
site.
is valuable.
The great site, but you got to be careful because they have like the same logo as New York Post. So they're like a parody of New York Post.
If one of the Barstool guys, if they end up reposting one of those things, then I think it's a real deal. But I mean, how cool is Barstool? Like, I've gotten to know a couple people over the years. As you know, Stephen Shea is the commissioner of our league.
Yep.
Dave was in it one year. Big Cat's now in it this year. And I've never gotten to meet Dave, but I've gotten to see him throughout our drafts, and we interact with text messages, and I can kind of get a feel and tell he's a good dude, but I know you have nothing but love for those guys over at Barstool, especially Dave Portnoy.
You see, a lot of what you see is what you get. A lot of it is really genuine, what you see.
And that's what I love, too, about Barstool is that was the first really sports media outlet where it was like, all right, we're not going to just do this button-up interview. It's going to be us. And, that was Dave and Big Cat and those guys, and now he's seen talent in people like you.
I mean, I go out there, and the Mets just kill me every day. Like, the game I watched yesterday, I mean, they blew a 5-0 lead to Oakland, you should never blow a 5-0 lead to the Athletics.
And they can hit now, dude.
And they got some good hitters. That is true, but you shouldn't blow a 5-0 lead.
Yeah.
And so many walks. And when you go to a baseball game, there's nothing I hate more than when a pitcher nibbles and you look up and it's 3-2 count every batter. It was like excruciating. I think at one point there was like a 4-inning stretch where literally every batter was 3-2.
That's a long game, like you said, 4 hours. Something like that?
The game went over 4 hours. I think it was finally 4 hours 7 minutes, 4 hours 10 minutes, something in that range. I don't know. It has to be one of the longest 9-inning games since the pitch clock era. Yeah, and I think about this. I went to one game like this previously, 2014, 4th of July. Yu Darvish really didn't have it that day, and it was a Mets Rangers game, and it was 4th of July, fireworks night, and I remember leaving that stadium. And I didn't stay for the fireworks. Mets actually won the game, but I was leaving the game like 11:20.
Frank, a lot of players after a loss, they have this system, this process on flushing. Okay, we got to move on to the next game. The season's long. We got to move on. How long does it take you to flush a Mets loss?
It depends how bad it is. I don't think I'll flush yesterday's loss unless they have a 5-game winning streak.
Oh, wow.
It'll take 5 days.
They're back at it tonight. They win tonight. It's not good enough.
No.
4 more.
No.
How many games out are they right now?
They're 2 out of the wild card.
Ooh.
They've overachieved. But it's just the way they've played lately, it's just been pretty bad. You got some players struggling. Alvarez hasn't hit well. Nimmo since the All-Star game, I mean, he went into the All-Star game the hottest hitter in baseball, and he's come out, and it's like he's gone to the North Pole.
Eric, you know what that feeling's like, right? Yeah.
I've been to the North Pole plenty of times, Frank. I ain't trying to go back either. I'm not going back. We ain't ever going back. Oh, man. So, no. Give me a little more, Frank. I'm asking you about these Barstool people, man, because I know that's life-changing stuff for you, man. Honestly,
it's incredible, and it's amazing the cross-section of fans I have. I mean, you would think that most of my fans are like teenagers or like college-age guys, but I get women coming up to me. I get old guys coming up to me. I even have kids coming up to me. It's like they've really got a good fan base, and it's like all ages, and that's kind of me. And they got so many different personalities. We got Mincy, who's like this lovable guy from like this Cajun who just sometimes you just wonder what's going on upstairs. But he goes to the car, plays poker. Then you got Big Cat and PFT with that great show going on for years. The part of my take. I mean, it's got the top podcasts. You got you get the football players. Then you bring in Stu Feiner, who brings us back his old advisor show, and he's got great stories. They pick all the games and they tell you, but they do it in such a fun way. They do it in a fun way. And then Dave, you got him with the Boston guys. You got him doing the pizza reviews. Of course, I do the hot dog reviews. Yeah. Oh yeah. You've done so many different things. So that's your guys' clubhouse, huh? You guys go to the office. You guys all kind of keep each other going, huh? And then you got Brandon Walker, who's like this, like he plays the heel very well. I've seen they like to beat up on him a couple times, huh? And then you got the trivia aspect, of course. So when was your first year with Barstool? 2017, I was part-time. Okay. And then I went full-time in 2020. Wow, so full-time in 2020, and you've been with them obviously ever since, huh? Yep. That's awesome. I'm going all over the place. I'm trying to launch. I'm trying to launch a new series. I'm going to try to looking for a sponsor to really get it going. But it's how the first pitches came up. I've done 4 first pitches. Of course, the Rocky one I've taken a lot of heat for that. You do a bad first pitch, man. What happened there? No. What happened? It wasn't the greatest. They gave me a Rocky. All my first pitches have been in the dirt. But I look at it this way: Javi Baez would swing at it. You never know until you face him. But were you wearing a jersey? I wore a Rockies jersey and they were playing the Mets, so that kind of got me some heat. Oh man! I didn't want to wear it. I didn't know how to not tell them I didn't want to wear it. I was in an awkward situation, and I just said, I gotta wear it because he invited me here. One day, hopefully the Mets will invite me, although the owner hates me. The owner hates me. Winning cures everything, Frank. They end up winning it all. Everybody will come together. Yeah, well, the Mets have only had 4 winning seasons since 2009, which is, I mean, you think about all the teams that have had, most of Major League Baseball has had even the worst teams have had more winning seasons. Yeah, it's with the new schedules and stuff. You're right. There has been a lot more 2009. Well, I'm talking about when Citi Field opened. Got it. Because that was when the Madoff thing happened. Right. That basically put the Mets like behind the 8 ball, where they had to cut salary because the Mets lost so much. The Mets lost so much money investing with Madoff. The Wilpons were actually friends with Bernie Madoff and had like some connections, and then the Mets got on top of it got fined $900 million or had to pay a $900 million settlement because the Wilpons basically got their friends to invest with. I think I asked you this, but I asked you another question after. How do you know all this baseball knowledge? What's your source? You just look into different things? Yep. I've always studied baseball, but baseball's always been my number one sport. Mm-hmm. I had a sports encyclopedia, which I ran for 20 years. And I built it. And when Wikipedia was growing, they stole from me. Come on now. Well, hey, man, we know you're a busy man. We appreciate you coming by. We do hope you get that series picked up where you get some first pitches seen out there. And you guys are on a tour. Are you doing every stadium? Is that your goal? Eventually. I filmed things. I'm going to review every stadium. I'm going out to Oakland next week. Good luck. We'll review that. Yeah. Who's had the best hot dog so far? Yeah, that's what I was asking. I haven't reviewed it yet, but I've been to PNC once. I like that stadium. Wrigley is just timeless. Yeah. I like Coors Field a lot. That was a nice one. Coors Field's nice. You been to Minnesota yet? Minnesota's a real nice. I have not been to that one yet. You'll like that one, I think. Anaheim is a stadium that needs help. Needs work, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little dated. A little outdated, you're right. They did a good job when they renovated it in the late 90s, but I think it could probably use an update, maybe even a new park completely, but I don't know. As a fan, what's your criteria for a good stadium? I like stadiums where you can walk in, you have wide open concourses. Yeah, I like that. Some of the older ones are a little enclosed for sure. And you accept it at Wrigley Field.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
it's Wrigley
the
Field.
history and all that.
But there's some ballparks where you're just walking around and it's a bottleneck, and you just realize. I mean, the stadium, the worst timing ever is the White Sox, who built a stadium which strangely looked like Yankee Stadium in some ways.
There are some areas to it, especially up in right field when you see top of the walls, those white columns or whatnot.
Yeah, and strangely looked like Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Instead of their old classic ballpark. And within 1 year of being built, was already obsolete as the next year Camden Yards opened up.
It's crazy you know all this stuff, man. One more thing. So you mentioned how it's cool people come up to you on the street, and especially people that are looking for inspiration and motivation. You got everything going now with Frank Walks, and we both told you, you've had athletes reach out to you and stuff. So the people that do come up to you on the street and ask you for advice and for motivation, what would you tell one of those people right now that can't be on the street and see you live if you had the opportunity to see them right now?
If you want to do something special, never give up on your dream, because somehow, some way, you just, maybe one day you'll be lucky enough to find something and find a pathway to show your talent, your ability, and you just make content if you're trying to become a content maker, and just continue to push, and just put things out, and you never know in this crazy internet world what's going to hit and what's not.